Hello and welcome to Pickleball Therapy, the pickleball podcast aimed at your improvement as a pickleball player. This week's podcast, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a tournament update for the PPA tournament here in Tampa that Jill and I were fortunate enough to play in this past weekend. See some friends, play some nice pickleball. It's a lot of fun, but I'm going to give you some ideas, some concepts or thoughts that occurred to me while playing the tournament and after that I think might help, particularly with the mental and emotional part of playing the game. The riff this week, I'm going to talk about being ready to play pickleball, being ready in the ready position. It's going to be really helpful to you in terms of just being ready when you're out there, being ready to do your best when you're out on the pickleball court. So if you're into that kind of stuff, stay tuned for the podcast. You've studied the pickleball videos, maybe read a pickleball book, taken a lesson or two, but there's just something missing, something to complete the whole picture. That's where VIPickleball comes in. VIPickleball is the most immersive pickleball learning community available today. You can check out more information at wearepickleball.com. See you in the community. Before I give you the update from the PPA tournament, if you listen to the podcast, you know at the end of every podcast I say that if you enjoy the podcast, make sure you share it with your friends. If you enjoy it, they probably will too. I wanted to thank you all for doing that. If you haven't done it yet, please consider doing it. It really helps us get the word out there, get the information out there. Our objective at In2Pickle and VIPickleball and in Pickleball Therapy podcast is to help grow the sport and help as many players as possible learn and improve in this wonderful game. So if you have a chance to do that, we certainly appreciate it. In terms of the tournament, so it was the PPA tournament in Tampa. If you know anything about the tournament circuit, there's two sort of competing professional tours right now. There's the PPA and the APP. Kind of interesting how they're just basically backwards one from the other. But the PPA had their event here in Tampa. It was hosted by the always gracious and obviously amazing player Simona Jardim, who's down in this area of Florida, about a couple hours south of us here in Tampa. So she hosted the event. She was the main pro hosting the event. And it was a fantastic tournament. We really enjoyed it. Jill and I had not played in tournaments in quite a little bit here. And so we were pretty happy to be able to participate in the tournament. Jill participated in both mixed and in women's. In mixed, Jill and I used to partner together all the time in mixed, but now that I'm an older man, I play in the senior division and Jill plays in the below senior division. So she played in 35 plus 5.0 with a good friend of ours, Mon. Did really well in there. I had some tough battles, but just battled all day, and ended up going down twice actually to the silver medalist in the division. So it was a good run for them. And she played women's doubles with our friend Linda. Also, I believe it was also I can't remember if that was 4-5 or 5-0. I cannot remember that, but I know that they played their hearts out on Friday, and some good battles there as well. So really nice weekend for them. I played senior pro men on Saturday and senior pro mixed on Sunday. And Saturday we went 2-2. We got knocked down by the team that ended up winning the bronze medal, and then knocked out in the bottom bracket by a team that did really well. Had some really good performance against some other teams and defeated some good teams. And we went down, I think it was 15-11, so it was a good match. And good battles all the way around in that division. And then on Sunday we were 4-2. We got knocked down by Dan Greneau and I think I pronounced that correctly, and Linda Thompson, a very good team. And then got knocked out by I'm trying to remember who again. Oh, by Kelly Sherwell and Eric Kennedy. So it was a good tournament for us all the way around. It was very enjoyable. What stuck out to me, or what struck me about the tournament was, was really my takeaway from the tournament personally was how some games we won 15-1, 15-2, and then ultimately we lost a game 15-2 in mixed on Sunday. And what was interesting was I'm not sure what to ascribe it to. Maybe I'll figure that out in the next couple of weeks and update the podcast. But basically, it was the same mindset in both. In other words, we fought in both. We fought hard in the ones that we won, and we fought hard in the ones that we lost. But in both of them, we were able to maintain our composure, maintain our cool. Whether you frankly couldn't tell whether we were winning 15-1 whether we're winning 14-1 or we're down 14-2 at the time that you saw us play. And I thought that was a really sort of interesting outcome for the tournament. I think it's, our expectations, maybe not our expectations, but it's common to see players, when they're up, they're a certain way, and then when they're down, they're another way, sagging shoulders, things like that. And so I think, what maybe the takeaway for you might be, try and when you're out there, really, understand that you're out there. It's a bigger picture than just that particular point of that particular game. You're out there really as part of a pickleball, let's say like a pickleball, not just a community, but a pickleball experience, right? And so the idea is basically when you go out there to play, and if you listen to our podcast, the 5 episodes we had with Coach Pete on mental and emotional training, you'll remember that the 3 tenets of his book are compete, learn, and honor. And I felt that we did all of those this weekend, and it really changed the outcome, the enjoyment, I should say, of the weekend and how we enjoyed the weekend, because we went out there and we definitely competed. We went out there, we gave it our best, we strategized, we moved things around. So we weren't complacent. We weren't out there just on the court. We were executing our shots the best we could. We were making adjustments. We were running around, and we were doing everything we could do. We even had on Saturday we had a situation where there was a rules issue at 16-16-2 with me and my partner serving. Out call. The ref saw it one way. I was confident that the rules were different. I asked for a tournament director, or head referee. Head referee came out and corrected the ruling by the ref. And so, big moments like that we had. So, we were definitely engaged, definitely involved. And so we competed as best we could. We learned a lot because we, again, strategy, and actually developed a new strategy that I haven't seen before, and I had never used before. Developed it on the fly on Sunday. I'll be sharing that with you all over the next couple of weeks. But, so that's learning, right, and growing as a pickleball player. And we also honored the game. And that's the part I think that sometimes maybe gets lost. Sometimes when we get lost when we're inside the barrel, so to speak, and we just can't see clearly what's going on. We're upset because we popped the ball up or because we missed a shot or whatever the cause is, And so sometimes we get lost in that and we lose ourselves in a negative way. I think when Coach Pete talks about losing ourselves in the game or letting the game be bigger than us, it's basically allowing, not letting those little moments drag us down, and really honoring the game that we play. And when you do that, you're honoring not only the game, you're honoring your opponents, which I think is really important to honor your opponents. You're honoring your partner, right? Normally you're on the court. Most of us play doubles the vast majority of time. So we're out there with our partner. And so honoring your partner is really important. Your partner's out there with you, giving his or her best, just as you are. And also honoring yourselves. Being gracious in both victory and defeat, I think, is really important, even when it's lopsided, like I mentioned earlier, whether you win 15-1 or lose 15-1. The idea of just being gracious in both scenarios. And, I think it's really important to maintain those in mind. The other thing that's really important, I think, in this tournament brought out is, as I mentioned, I played senior pro both days. And so that's obviously a challenging level. That's a level that's going to push me to my maximum, push me to my limit, right, in terms of what I'm able to do as a pickleball player. And so playing at that level, and anybody who plays at a level that challenges them, so say that you're playing at 4.0 or you're playing at 3.5 or whatever level you're playing at, if that level is challenging you, meaning you're at the correct level, you have to accept the fact that you are going to lose games. In other words, you're going to lose games, and you're going to lose games that perhaps in your mind you think that you should not have lost. That tells you that you are playing at a level that is good for you. Now, let's go to an extreme. If you're losing, if you're playing 10 games and not getting 2 points a game and losing every game, then perhaps that's not the right level for you in terms of it being too high of a level. If you're playing all your games and winning all your games, so if you're winning all your games, 11-4, 11-5, 11-3 every time, then you're probably too far on the other side of the spectrum of that group of players, of that level of play. But if if you find that sweet spot, that kind of Goldilocks porridge temperature that's perfect, then what you're doing is you're gonna, and in a perfect world, you would be probably winning half and losing half, right? So that tells you, okay, I'm right in the middle of this group, meaning that I'm winning sometimes, right? Because I'm executing a little better than they, or I'm changing my strategy, whatever you're doing to adjust to the game. but you're also losing sometimes, that tells you that you're in the right level. And so, the idea that you're going to always win is simply a fantasy. I mentioned it. I was having a conversation earlier with CJ Johnson, who's my partner in VIPickleball, as you probably already know. And we're having a conversation about these concepts. And basically, the idea of trying to always win, right? In other words, of winning every match being your metric is that idea of chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So you basically miss the rainbow. You miss all the great things and all the beauty of the event because you're trying to continually chase that pot of gold, which is, as you well know, if you know the concept of the pot of gold, it's a myth, right? It's unreachable. So so I think what's really important is to focus on, or at least I'd say first, to understand that you are definitely going to lose points, games, and matches, even ones that perhaps you maybe quote unquote should have won, whatever that means, if you are playing at a level that is a challenge for you. And if you're doing that, as long as you're playing at a level that's a challenge for you, then I think accepting the fact that you're going to lose from time to time, or if I said it correctly, say 50% of the time, then you're going to enjoy more. You're going to understand. You're going to recognize the rainbow, see the rainbow for what it is, and really appreciate what's happening when you play. So at the end of the day, when you're battling, giving it your all, leaving everything on the court, so to speak, you can walk off the court as we did this weekend with your head held high, knowing that you did the best you could and that you honored the game and yourself. So wanted to share those thoughts with you about the tournament. Hopefully that'll be helpful to you in maybe rejigging your mind when you go out to play, and help you get ready next time you go out to play and have a better perspective when you're out there. So that's that on the tournament update. We're gonna riff on some being ready to play pickleball at the best you can next time you go out to play. Stay tuned. You'd like to help your friend or family member learn how to play pickleball, but how? Now it's easy. Pick up a copy of Play Pickleball, A Beginner's Guide. It's the most complete guide to playing pickleball. Available as a digital download or in hard copy at In2Pickle.com or at Amazon. Let's keep growing the sport. Before I get into the riff, I wanted to let you know that CJ Johnson and I are doing some Pickleball Therapy lives on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you like Facebook streaming better, you can go on there. If you like YouTube better, you can go on there. And basically what we're doing is we're doing these kind of pop-up lives that we're doing. If you want to be notified of those, make sure you go to wearepickleball.com and just give us your email address so we can send you an email, let you know when the next one is coming up. And basically what happens there is we get on, we have a couple of topics to talk about. We'll take some questions if we have time for them. Last time we did one this week, it was really interesting. We kind of touch on a bunch of different things and answer some questions. It was a lot of fun. So we plan on doing those in the future. So if you're interested in that, Pickleball Therapy Live, make sure you go to wearepickleball.com and put your email so you get notified of that. One of the things that CJ does really well for all of us at VIPickleball, myself and everybody else at the VIPickleball, is keeping our eye on the ball, keeping our eye on what's important, on what we need to be focused on if we want to improve as pickleball players. And in a second, I'm going to explain to you as pickleball athletes. You're going to see what I mean in a second. So, one of the things that she worked on recently was this idea of what does it mean to be ready? And so for most players, most players think about ready being like paddle. Where's my paddle ready position, right? Is my paddle here or there? Or where should I hold it, to be ready to play? And, and many points actually end with one player saying, or at least thinking to him or herself, I should have had my paddle ready there. So, that is part of the game, being paddle ready, right? Or having a paddle ready. But being ready to play pickleball is so much more than just paddle preparation or where you hold your paddle. So there's a couple other areas that CJ laid out, and you can get an access to. I'll link to it below so you can access the entire written material. But I want to summarize it here for you. So one idea is, that you need to be game ready. So, a lot of times, myself included, I'm guilty of this. We get out to the courts, we're kind of excited to play. We see other players there, pick up a ball, go out there and start banging the ball around. And then you start playing and that's it. But, is that really the best way to set yourself up to play the best you can, to be optimally prepared to be on the court? And the suggestion is there's a couple of different things, or more than a couple. There's a couple of different things I want to point on right now that really will help you get the most out of your your playtime, your pickleball playtime. One is simply a warm-up, right? Not simply, but a warm-up. And a dynamic stretch warm-up. We have a dynamic stretch booklet that you can download from us that'll help you with some dynamic stretching. So doing some dynamic stretching will really get your joints, all your hips, your knees, all that stuff going. It'll warm up your body so that you reduce the chance of injury by doing that. So that's really helpful. And the other thing is taking a few minutes to get mentally ready. How often do we go out there? And again, I'm guilty of this as well. We go out there, maybe we've been thinking about work or I don't know, something that you got to do at the house or whatever. And we get out on the pickleball courts, we start playing, and we haven't really switched gears into pickleball play, which means A, we're not playing that well, probably. B, when we make an error, now all of a sudden it's huge because we've been thinking about this thing that's been nagging us. And so now when we miss a shot or whatever, now everything kind of gets tied together in our minds. It's not productive. It can become very negative. So one thing is also giving yourself a few minutes to mentally switch gears in your mind to what you're going to be doing next, which is, playing pickleball, if that's where you're headed. And one of the things I suggest, and I know it sounds like I'm trying to continue to promote the podcast, which I guess I sort of am too, but listen to the podcast. Put an old episode of the podcast with Coach Pete. Listen to he has a very soothing voice, in my opinion. Put that on while you're on your way to the courts. Listen to it and just kind of, get into the mindset of honoring the game, of, all the stuff we talked about earlier in the tournament update. So, that's a good way to get mentally ready. So that's a really important part. But what about even before you're at the game? Are there things you can do before you're at the game in order to be ready, right? Remember, we were talking about being ready to play or doing your best, being ready to do the best you can when you're out on the pickleball court. And so one of the things is, what can you do before you even head out to the courts? The one that comes to mind is drilling, right? What about a little bit of drilling? And it doesn't have to be, and it could be at the courts as well, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go out to drill for 6 hours. If you drill for 5 minutes with your friends before you start playing, you will see improvement in your game and you will play better in that session. But drilling as much as you can do drilling at home. You can do drilling with a paddle and a mirror. You can do drilling against a wall with a foam ball. Inside VIPickleball, we have a ton of suggestions on things like that, about how to use a foam ball, how to, we have some indoor drills and things like that you can do. Use those things to and you can find them on YouTube too. If you're not a member of VIPickleball, there's other resources you can use as well. Find some drilling techniques that'll help you and use those. And then sort of simple things, right? But things that maybe we overlook are like things like hydration. If you haven't hydrated properly and you head out to play for 3 hours at 10 o'clock in the morning in a state with a lot of sun, you're going to be devastated by the end of that game. So what you want to start doing is the day before, I know I'm playing tomorrow, start hydrating. Hydrate the day before, hydrate the morning, right? And then you go out there and you're going to have a better experience. You're going to feel better physically and perform better. And then the other thing is working on, there's a lot of aspects of the game, and I'm gonna touch on this in a second about being a pickleball athlete, but there's other parts of the game that aren't simply how to hit the ball. So we talked about drilling, and I was focusing on things like using a foam ball to hit against a wall and things like that. There's things that you can do that'll help not just your pickleball, but your life in general. Like one of the things that CJ has really helped me understand better as we've been working together is the importance of balance and stability, particularly as we get older. As we get older, it's nothing. It's not because there's something wrong with you personally, right? It's just getting older. Our balance and stability start to deteriorate, but we can. The good news is we can slow down the deterioration and get some back, right? Improve it by spending a little bit of time every day working on some balance and stability. And those are the kinds of things that you can do to help you become ready to play the best pickleball that you can play. And I've been mentioning the concept of being a pickleball athlete, so let me address that. So inside VIPickleball, CJ and I really stress to our members that they have ceased being pickleball players. They are no longer pickleball players. Pickleball players are persons who show up to the courts, paddle in hand, ready to play. And I mean no criticism of pickleball players. I am not trying to cast aspersions. I'm not saying that they're any less of anything, right? It's perfectly fine to play pickleball. If that's what you want to do, you want to show up with a paddle and have a nice time, I applaud that and I think it's amazing. I think you should do it. But once you start really spending time thinking about this game, once you start watching videos to learn a stroke or a different strategy, once you start listening to podcasts like this one, we would suggest that you pass from being a pickleball player to being a pickleball athlete. And that mind shift is really important. Once you become a pickleball athlete, then you start doing things, or your mind starts telling you need to do things in addition to just showing up for the play schedule, just showing up for the 3-hour schedule you're supposed to play, or the open play, or wherever you're playing. What your mind starts telling you is, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to hydrate? What about, did we stretch yesterday or not? How are we eating? How are we, all those types of things, am I more working on the mental part of my game, right? Am I working on my emotional strength? So those types of things are things that an athlete in any sport would do. And there's no reason not to consider yourself, if you're doing the things that we mentioned earlier, including listening to this podcast, to consider yourself a pickleball athlete and to behave like a pickleball athlete. And I would suggest it's important to understand that it's not simply just a pretty name we're trying to throw at you, or something we're trying to tell you that doesn't have a significant impact. If you adopt and embrace the concept that you are now a pickleball athlete, it will change your mindset and it will help you improve your pickleball play. But I would also suggest to you, bigger picture, it'll help you improve your life, because the things that are good for a pickleball athlete, things like, nutrition, hydration, physical wellness, things like balance, stability, stretching, things like that. All of those things are great for pickleball, but they're also great for you in life in general. So embrace becoming a pickleball athlete in your mind. Start making that shift in your mind, and you'll see the benefits of it in your pickleball play and your life in general. All right, that's a longer than normal podcast for us this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, when we do the YouTube Live and the Facebook Live, the Pickleball Therapy Live that I mentioned earlier, I am going to capture that and stream it to a podcast as well. So you're going to start seeing Pickleball Therapy lives on this platform. What you'll know is that's basically CJ and I riffing about some pickleball subject or another, and hopefully answering some questions. So hope you enjoyed the podcast this week. If you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. If you enjoyed it, they probably will too. Stay well out there.